The town of Black Hollow was a quiet, unassuming place nestled between dense forests and a winding river that cut through the landscape like a serpent. The river, known as the Blackwater, was both the lifeblood and the curse of the town. It provided water, fish, and a means of transportation, but it also had a dark history. Over the years, it had claimed countless lives, some by accident, others by design. The townsfolk spoke of the river in hushed tones, as if it were a living entity with a will of its own. And on one fateful night, the river would claim another victim, setting off a chain of events that would unravel the town's secrets. It was a cold, moonless night when the body of a young girl was found floating in the Blackwater. Her name was Stella Carter, a 17-year-old with a bright future ahead of her. She was the kind of girl who lit up a room with her smile, the kind of girl who made everyone believe in the goodness of the world. But now her lifeless body lay on the riverbank, her once vibrant eyes staring blankly at the sky. The discovery was made by a local fisherman, Tom Grady, who had been out on the river before dawn. At first, he thought it was a log caught in the reeds. But as he drew closer, the horrifying truth became clear. He rushed to the town sheriff, John Harper, who immediately launched an investigation. Sheriff Harper was a seasoned lawman with a reputation for being thorough and fair. He had seen his share of tragedies in Black Hollow, but something about Stella's death struck a chord deep within him. Maybe it was the way her parents wept uncontrollably when they identified her body, or the way her friends clung to each other, their faces pale with shock. Whatever it was, Harper was determined to find out what had happened to Stella. The initial examination of the body revealed no obvious signs of struggle. There were no bruises, no cuts, no evidence of foul play. It seemed as though Stella had simply drowned. But Harper wasn't convinced. He knew the river well, and he knew that Stella was a strong swimmer. She had grown up on its banks, spending her summers diving into its cool waters. The idea that she had drowned by accident didn't sit right with him. As the days passed, Harper began to dig deeper into Stella's life. He interviewed her friends, her teachers, and her family, searching for any clue that might explain her death. What he found was a girl who was loved by many but who also had her share of secrets. Stella had been dating a boy named Jayden, a 19-year-old with a troubled past. Jayden had a reputation for being hot-headed and had been in and out of trouble with the law since he was a teenager. When Harper questioned him, Jayden was evasive, his eyes darting nervously as he spoke. He claimed that he had last seen Stella 2 nights before her body was found, and that they had parted on good terms. But Harper wasn't so sure. Then there was Stella's best friend, Riley Thompson. Riley was a quiet, introverted girl who had always been in Stella's shadow. When Harper spoke to her, she seemed genuinely devastated by Stella's death. But there was something in her eyes, a flicker of guilt perhaps, that made Harper suspicious. As the investigation continued, Harper uncovered a web of lies and deceit. He learned that Stella had been planning to leave Black Hollow, to escape the small-town life that she felt was suffocating her. She had been accepted into a prestigious university on the other side of the country, and she had been saving money for months to make the move. But someone had known about her plans and someone had wanted to stop her. Harper's suspicions turned to Jake. He discovered that Jayden had been jealous of Stella's ambitions, afraid that she would leave him behind. He had been pressuring her to stay, even threatening her when she refused. But when Harper confronted Jayden with the evidence, the boy broke down in tears, insisting that he had loved Stella and would never have hurt her. Then, there was Riley. Harper learned that Riley had been secretly in love with Jayden for years, and that she had been jealous of Stella's relationship with him. She had been the one to tell Jayden about Stella's plans to leave, hoping that it would drive a wedge between them. But when Harper questioned her, Riley denied any involvement in Stella's death, her voice trembling with fear. As the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, Harper realized that the truth was far more complicated than he had initially thought. It wasn't just about jealousy or love or ambition. It was about the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of Black Hollow, a darkness that had been festering for years. The final clue came from an unexpected source, a homeless man named Henry, who lived in a makeshift shelter by the river. Henry had seen something on the night of Stella's death, something that he had been too afraid to come forward with. He told Harper that he had seen Stella arguing with someone by the river, their voices rising in anger. He couldn't see who it was, but he had heard a splash, followed by silence. Harper knew that he was close to the truth. He revisited the scene of the crime, searching for any evidence that might have been missed. And then he found it, a single footprint in the mud, leading away from the river. It was small, too small to belong to Jake. It could only have been made by a woman. Harper's heart sank as he realized what had happened. He went to Riley's house, his hand resting on the gun, at his side. When he confronted her, she broke down, confessing everything. She had followed Stella to the river that night, consumed by jealousy and rage. They had argued, and in a fit of anger, Riley had pushed Stella into the water. She had watched as Stella struggled, her cries for help drowned out by the rushing current. And then she had run, leaving her best friend to die. Sarah was arrested and charged with murder. But for Harper, the victory was bittersweet. He had solved the case, but it had cost him a piece of his soul. He couldn't shake the image of Stella's lifeless body, or the knowledge that the darkness in Black Hollow had claimed yet another victim. As the town mourned Stella's death, the river continued to flow, its waters dark and unyielding. It was a reminder that some secrets could never be buried, and that the past always had a way of catching up with you. And for Sheriff Harper, it was a reminder that the fight for justice was never truly over. In the end, Stella's death was a tragedy that shook Black Hollow to its core. But it was also a wake-up call, a reminder that even in the quietest of towns, evil could lurk just beneath the surface. And as long as there were people willing to fight for the truth, there was hope that the darkness could be kept at bay. But for Stella, there would be no justice, no closure. Her life had been cut short, her dreams left unfulfilled. And as her body was laid to rest, the river continued to flow, carrying her memory away with it like so many others before her.